Good morning or hello, whichever it is for you. Jeff Lavelle, your broker of the brokerage, a real estate firm. So I am going to go over with you today how we comp a property, how we pull comparables for a home. When a client asks you what the value of their home is, or you have shown them homes and you're going to go write an offer, and it's your job to determine if that list price is valid or is it too high, is it too low? So we're going to go into our MLS. We're logged in here. And we're going to come over to tax because searching for a property is almost always best when you've pulled the tax record. So if you're looking, so the tax record in our instance here, fortunately, is very, very much like our MLS. It is searchable. So if you don't have the property information for a home and you need to find the home, it is possible to search by last name. It is possible to search by map. You'll see here, this is the map search. So you can click on this and you could say, well, I know that the home is in a certain area. I know it's wherever on the map you want to be. And then you could draw a radius, you could draw a polygon, you could draw a rectangle. The polygon is going to be a free draw, basically. You click, you can make it as many angles, you can cut out. So like if I only want to look at this part of Las Vegas Boulevard, you have a client that says, I don't want to go anywhere outside this search. You can just make this very specific map draw here, and then you just connect your two ends, and now you've got the shape. And you can exclude the shape, you can include the shape, however you want to do it. That's getting a little off the topic, so we'll do another video about that later. But the point being is you can do various types of search. In this situation, we know the property address is 437 Purple Finch. Let me spell purple correctly. And we don't really need to put anything else in. You'll see down here we have one match. So I'll click on results and it gives us our one match. And this is the home I'm looking for. So I'm going to come down here to where it says print, and I'm going to print it as a PDF because I just need the tax record. And I'm going to pull this off screen to my second screen so that I can look at it and reference it while I'm doing my search. So I'm going to go back up to search. Residential. Now in the last video we did not want any contingents, or we only wanted active properties. In this case we want active, contingent, pending, and sold. You could even go so far as to also click on your expireds and withdrawns. Those oftentimes will indicate what properties are not selling for, because when the property is overpriced and it sits and languishes for months, eventually that listing expires and the homeowner comes off the market. So anyway, we're going to search for active, contingent, pending, and sold. Now, initially, I'm going to leave this 0 to 180 open. That means anything that sold today all the way to 180 days back. 6 months back for a comp is a pretty long time, and I would prefer, and most appraisers would agree, to try to stay within the 90-day fence, or what's the word looking for, 90-day range. Because that's recent enough that there isn't really any market fluctuation that's tangible, and it shows us a snapshot of what's happening right now. So we're going to leave it open right now just because we don't know what exactly we're going to see here. But our property was built in 1988. I'll bring this back over for a second so you can see. So this gives us all the information about the house, the address, the zip code, all the stuff over here. You can see it's a one-story townhome, 1,494 square feet, built in 88. When it was purchased right here, the county sale, 137,014. Then we have the taxes for the year down there. So very useful information to have at a glance. And I'm going to pull this back off the screen so that I can work on our comps. So typically, the way I like to search initially, because I like to do two different searches, is I'm going to put the property address in here so that we can see. There we go. You'll see it automatically gives you some suggestions. So Purple Finch. Now we're going to go a 1 mile radius. I don't really want to go much further out than a 1 mile radius. And you can see that we have 225 properties. Now I need to change this to townhome because this does show as a townhouse, not as a single family residence. And let's see here. We're going to put our footprint. So the footprint of the house is how big the home is on its face. So in this situation, the house is 1,300 to 1,500 square feet, 1,550 square feet. Let me start over by saying the house is 1,494 square feet, so it's 1,500 square feet for our purposes. So I'm going to go a little bit lower than that, and I'm going to go a little bit higher than that. In fact, I'm going to adjust this a little bit, 1,400 to maybe let's do this to 1,600. Because that gives me 100 square feet on either side of the house. And it has a 462 square foot garage, which means it's a 2-car. There's about 200 square feet or so for every 1-car garage. And I have 7 matches. So let's look at our results. And I bet you would be surprised to know that this is probably going to be all in the same neighborhood. So we're not going to see really anything outside the community. So what I'm looking at here, I like to sort. As you can see, I just sorted my sales. I like to sort the most recent sale at the top with the most with the older sales going down. So I like to see what's at the top first and then work my way down. Now this is a 2-bedroom property, so we're going to go back and we're going to put in 2 bedrooms because we're getting more matches than we want, and the number of bedrooms can influence the value. So pretty big difference we have right here. We've got one for 169,000 model match to what we're looking for, being that they are the same square footage. Now, as we get in here, you'll see that this is a very desirable age-restricted community, 55 and older complex. So you are going to have only people 55 and older allowed to live in there. Anybody can buy it. So as long as the property allows for investment, anybody can buy the property. They just can't occupy the property unless they fit the 55 or older requirement. So let's look at this and see here. So we've got nice kind of older style hardwood floors. It looks like they've redone their kitchen, granite countertops. You'll see back there it's an electric stove or cooktop. So as we scroll through, we can see that these are pretty crappy pictures. But aside from that, the bathroom's been pretty much left untouched. They've done some stuff in there. As we go through, we can see those hardwood floors continue through. They've changed their counters and cabinets in here. It looks like maybe just their counters. And then we've got this little den or sunroom, and then our patio and our backyard. So that's the tour through the property. So that's 169. That one sold for 169 in 6 days in reportedly fair condition. Sold to a conventional buyer. It sold from start to finish in 37 days. And it sold for more than they were asking. As you can see, it was asking 165.9, sold for 169. So as we scroll back up, we're going to scoot to the next property here. This one on Strawflower, again, same neighborhood, sold for a lot less, 140, in poor condition. See, this is where condition is important. Poor condition, 7 days on market. It sold to an FHA owner-occupant buyer because remember, FHA cannot be used for investment purposes. It was on the market for 7 days. It was a total of 40 days from listing to close, which it's not really as big a deal as knowing just how many days it sat on the market. So scooped it up in 7 days and did allow for FHA financing. So that means that it had all the requisite equipment in the property for FHA. Now it doesn't look to be poor. I mean, it may smell like cat pee. Who knows? Well, let's look at these cabinets here. Looks like this cabinet, these two are missing doors, so that's going to be a little costly to replace because those doors aren't in production anymore. Okay, yeah, we got a high traffic area. Very common in age-restricted communities because we have folks that are, in some cases, not capable of really getting out much, and so these high traffic areas just get worn down real bad. And then we have our back patio. Yeah, I mean, I could see that this is in fair to poor condition. But that sold for 140, and it sold in November of last year. So that's not a great comp for people with trying to get their value here. And then we have a You know, wow, 215, huh? Same neighborhood. We've got, well, this one has to be stunning inside to get 215. So far, the pictures are not stunning. Got some, oh, wow, yeah. Look at that. Look at that. Get a picture of that shuffleboard, guys. All right, so blurry pictures, really well done by the agent marketing this property. Shame, shame, shame. Oh, good. Got a picture of the stove or the oven with the microwave. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could see where this property is worth $60,000 more than the homes that sold most recently. Don't forget the puppets here. Want to make sure you get those puppets in the pictures. And yeah, so this is like this is what not to do when photographing a property. Just gonna throw that out there. Not to shame the agent that did this, but shame on you. Okay, so we're done with this property. I can tell you with certainty it's not going to sell for $215. It is not in excellent condition or above excellent condition. Seller knows the market and the growth potential and is not interested in low ball offers. Well, I'm glad the seller knows the market because obviously the agent doesn't. So, yeah, I'm going to talk crap. What are you going to do? So, anyway, we're going to skip this one because 215 is not going to happen. But let's pop out a little bit and look at our 3 bedrooms because that's going to kind of give us an idea of, you know, I like to have 3 sold comps to give me an idea of value. And you can see here that with 3 bedrooms, they're selling for just a little bit more than our 2-bedroom property. So, that's interesting. Let's take the bedroom requirement out so we can look at the whole thing at once. All right. So 163, 169, 155, 140, 163. So I'm going to take, in this situation, I'm going to take the 140 out. I don't think the 140 is necessarily indicative of the community. And I'm going to select these other 4 properties. That will give me, and I've got this one in C status, in contingent status, meaning it was on the market for 19 days, it got an offer, and they're getting ready to, you know, go through the closing process. So if we look at our quick CMA button, we can see that the average in the neighborhood is 162. The average list price is 162,725. The average sales price is 162,500. So it's safe to say, even though we have a 3-bedroom in here that sold for 163, the 2-bedroom sold for 169. And we have another one that sold for 140, but since it's uncharacteristically lower than the rest of the properties in there, I'm going to say that we can throw that one out and just look at our other 4 properties, which do indicate that this property is worth $165,000. And how do I get that? I click on Quick CMA. It does all the fun math of averaging for me. And knowing the condition of the property that I've already seen, it's in good condition, I would tell my clients they could list this property for $165,000 and then let the market tell us where we need to be from there. So that's that one. What I'm going to do in this particular situation is I'm going to refine this search down. I'm going to narrow this. Oops, I'm going to click on this one too. Narrow this down for the person I'm sending this to. I'm going to print this as an agent single line view. Print that. So there's 3 different ways of really comping the property. This is the most common way, at least the way I typically try to approach it. You can corroborate your search if you're having trouble. You can corroborate it by, so we're back to our main search screen here. I'm going to clear the map. I don't want to have this as a criteria anymore. And I want to come down to the subdivision name. So when I look at my tax record, which I'm going to pull back over here for you, when I look at my tax record, you can see the subdivision right up here. So 3993 is the subdivision number. The MLS no longer assigns subdivision numbers. We only get the subdivision tax name. So this is not necessarily going to match. This tax record name here is not necessarily going to match the name that's on the outside of the community. So sometimes they're very cryptic. It'll just have like Bermuda Pile, AMD. That doesn't match anything else out there on the street. So if your client says to you, hey, I want to look at this property over in Apple Grove, and you'd be like, well, what's Apple Grove? Where's that at? Always ask your client for a street number. If they can, or street name. If they can give you a street name inside the community, then you can reverse search that through the tax record and find that community so you can find out what they're looking for. But in this situation, instead of going through the 1 mile search, I'm going to come down here to subdivision name, and I'm going to type in that promenade. Actually, I'm just going to copy this because my typing this morning has not been great. So promenade, and I'm going to put a little asterisk at the end, a little star, because that way if I misspelled anything at the end or it doesn't quite match the other, the rest of the community, it still shows. And this only is going to give me 2 results. So there's something in that promenade. So let's get rid of that third. Sometimes they release these communities in segments. That's weird. That's still not giving me. So, okay, maybe I have something checked incorrectly. Got my bedrooms out of there. This is all cleared. Interesting. Promenade at the Meadows, and it's only giving me 3 results. Oh, okay. Do I have I have my contingent? Well, let's find out what I did wrong. Let's look at So what I've done is I've gone back to our initial search. So the nice thing about the MLS is if you have done a search and you don't want to go through and do the search all over again, you can come up to this recent search section and you can find your last search. So here's my last search that we did for this community. Now I assumed, and I'm going to show you my mistake here because it's good to see, but I assumed that Pearl Drop, Gold Mount, and Ridge Tree were all in the same Purple Finch neighborhood. Well, they're not. This is in the same neighborhood as our subject property, and this is in the same neighborhood as our subject property, and that's indicate. Oh, sorry. So this one is not. This one is in Ridgemount. This one's in the Promenade. This one's in Ridgemount. This one's in the Promenade. This one's in Ridgemount, and this one's in Ridgemount. So as you can see, some of these properties are in the same promenade at the Meadows that we're trying to comp. And the reason it's important is because we're looking at age-restricted properties versus non-age-restricted properties. And that can have a very big difference in the market in those two communities. In this situation, it doesn't really. We're looking at very similar comps in both communities. It does look like the age-restricted communities may be getting a little bit more per square foot than its non-age-restricted counterpart. So it's kind of interesting to see that. But so that's where I went wrong. That's why when I go to this other search, now this is the search I went to just a moment ago, I'm only seeing these 3 properties in our Promenade at the Meadows community. So this is how we're kind of triangulating, if you will, our properties. So this goes to just support that there's nothing in the neighborhood that is sold that does not fit our criteria. And you could even do one more. You could go to the tax record and you could do the same search. So you could go in here. Now, why would I go in the tax record when I have the MLS? Well, the reason being is because people do private sales. So Bob and Nancy Smith know that their neighbor next door wants to buy their home. So what do? They avoid using one of us realtors, and they sell it themselves. Private party, they hire an attorney or they get some paperwork offline. They, in some cases fail to provide the necessary disclosures. Well, that's not our problem. So that's something that you should, be aware of. Those private sales do have an effect on value. Appraisers do look for private sales, and so from an agent standpoint, it's wise to be able to go through there and look and see if there's anything that fits what you're looking for that is sold in recent months. So when I go in here, I can go into criteria. Let me see here. I'm trying to think of the best way to narrow this down. Let's get rid of the map. Let's clear the map and go into the subdivision name, Promenade at the Meadows. Put a star at the end. Did I spell promenade wrong? 75. So here are my 75 properties within the community that fit the same criteria. And I'm going to back this out. I'm going to look at my most recent sale date. And I'm going to see 432 Purple Finch sold, 440 Straw Flower sold, and then we've got 5125 Eventide. A little older sale than we might want to go back, but it does show us, as you look at this trend here, that these properties are all right around the same price range. So we would just compare this particular breakdown of properties with our printed breakdown of sales to see, I'm going to my printer, to see if we have any discrepancies or if there's anything that has sold in the tax record that is not showing up in our MLS search. So I show here 432 Purple Finch is in my tax record. I show 440 Straw Flower is in mine, but I took that one out because it was a low sale. And I don't show anything else because nothing else is closed in there. So I could use this Eventide property. It's a little old, but if we need to boost our sales a little bit in there, we could show that 140 was certainly uncharacteristic for the community. So that's the other kind of the third way. You can also search by school zone. So in this situation, being that it's age restricted and children aren't going to be living there, the school zone isn't necessarily as important, but you could do a search the same way as you would. So if I go back out here, I can see that these properties are zoned for Red Rock, Gibson, Robert Gibson, and Western High School. So I would put those in the criteria. So Red Rock, Gibson, and Western. Oops, one more. And that would be the way I search this way instead of getting my Purple Finch map there. And I could search just by school zone. And that'll tell me whether there are properties that are maybe outside the 1 mile, but a school, we know the schools in that area are very important to people, and so they want to send their kids to specific schools. So don't be afraid to search a couple of different ways to confirm your comps. This shows your client that you were diligent. It puts your mind at ease that you didn't miss anything. So especially as you are kind of starting to get used to looking at properties and comping properties, do the traditional 1 mile radius, do the little less, the traditional subdivision search, and then go back and look at them as a school zone. See what the schools in the area are zoned for. And keep in mind, we only want to compare 1 stories to 1 stories and 2 stories to 2 stories. We don't want to really go into a 1 versus 2 story comparison. Then you're going to run into situations where you're talking about your differences in square footages. And differences in square footages for the way that I've shown you, we're looking at about 10, maybe 15% of the square footage on the plus or minus side. So if we had a 2,000 square foot property, I'm going to move my calculator over here. So if we had a 2,000 square foot property and we want to go 10%, obviously it's 200 square feet. So we'd be looking at 1,800 square foot properties to 2,200 square foot properties. That would give us a really good range that is still generally comparable to what we're trying to look at. Now, if you have a 3-car versus a 2-car garage, depends on the price range, but the 2-car versus a 3-car garage, we would say, okay, our subject property has 3 cars, meaning it has the property we're trying to value has a 3-car configuration, but the comp down the road, maybe they converted that 3rd-car garage to a storage space, and they've removed the functionality of the garage. So we could take that 3rd-car garage and take $7,500 off. I'm sorry, add $7,500. We're always going to add to our comp. If I show that this 3-bedroom property sold for $210, I'm sorry, 2-car property sold for $210, and I want to know what it would be like if it had a 3rd-car garage, I might add $5,000 to $7,500 to that 2-car property in order to bring its sale value up. So that would say to me, if the property had 3 cars when it sold, this is how much it reasonably would have been worth in order to get that that value, in order to get that third car garage value. So these are things to keep in mind when you're comparing properties. And of course, that's part of the reason you've hired on, is that we are here to help you with your comps. I always am happy to compare your comps, look at them, review them with you, and show you what you might be able to do differently. Sometimes we get into comps that are just outside the scope of our license. We get into properties that are custom properties and very much involved. And so it requires at that point that we encourage our client to engage the services of a competent appraiser. And I can certainly help you with identifying those people as well. So this is the general introduction to comping. We'll get into some more detailed comping here soon, but at least this gives you an idea of how to determine what your buyer should offer for a home, and maybe what your sellers would be able to list for and get their homes on the market for and get showings. So I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope this was helpful, and always looking for suggestions, comments, and topics. So feel free to share those. Have a great day. Bye.